Welcome to MogulCast, where we uncover the stories behind the world's greatest business empires. Let's get into today's story. September 17, 2019. WeWork's valuation, $47 billion. September 30, 2019, $10 billion. By November 6, 2019, $8 billion. Gone. In 47 days, the company that promised to elevate the world's consciousness became a cautionary tale. This is the full story. And it is worse than you think. Adam Neumann was a 29-year-old Israeli immigrant with a failed baby clothing line when he walked into a New York co-working space in 2008. He saw more than desks, he saw a movement. "We are not just renting space," he told his future wife, Rebecca. "We are building a community." But the real pitch? A startup that could grow faster than any real estate company in history. We will come back to one specific decision: it is the key to everything. By 2012, WeWork had just 1,000 members. But Neumann's charisma was undeniable. He wore all black, grew his hair long, and preached a gospel of "we over me." Investors bought in. Benchmark Capital led a $17 million round in 2012, valuing WeWork at $100 million. "Adam is a visionary," said Benchmark's Bruce Dunleavy. "He sees the future of work." But behind the scenes, Neumann was already making a move that would define WeWork's fate. By 2014, WeWork had 20 locations and $150 million in revenue. Neumann's strategy: lease long-term, rent short-term, and brand it as a lifestyle. "We are not a real estate company," he declared. "We are a tech company." The media ate it up. Forbes called him the next Steve Jobs. But the real breakthrough came in 2015, when SoftBank's Masayoshi Son wrote a $4.4 billion check, valuing WeWork at $10 billion. The floodgates opened. By 2017, WeWork was in 20 countries, with 100,000 members. Neumann's ambition knew no bounds. He launched We Live, a co-living brand, and We Grow, a private school. "We are building a physical social network," he said. But not everyone was celebrating. Behind the scenes, losses were mounting. In 2018 alone, WeWork lost $1.9 billion on $1.8 billion in revenue. The cracks were showing. WeWork's business model was simple: lease office space, renovate it, and rent it out at a premium. But here is what the media completely got wrong about this. They called it a tech company. It wasn't. It was a real estate company with a tech story. And the story was working, until it wasn't. By 2019, WeWork had 528 locations and $3.3 billion in revenue. But its losses? $1.9 billion in just 6 months. The turning point came in August 2019, when WeWork filed its S-1 for an IPO. The document revealed Neumann's self-dealing. He owned properties that WeWork leased, he trademarked the word "we" and sold it back to the company for $5.9 million, and he took out $700 million in loans against his stock. The media turned. "WeWork is not a tech company," said the Wall Street Journal. "It's a cult." September 13, 2019. The board gathered for an emergency meeting. Neumann had to go. But the damage was done. The IPO was pulled. SoftBank, WeWork's biggest backer, was forced to step in with a $9.5 billion bailout, but only after WeWork's valuation collapsed from $47 billion to $8 billion. Neumann walked away with $1.7 billion. Employees? They got nothing. And if you have made it this far, you already understand something most analysts completely missed. The real problem wasn't Neumann's ego. It was the math. WeWork's leases were long-term, but its revenue was short-term. In a downturn, it would be crushed. And in 2020, COVID-19 hit. WeWork's occupancy rate dropped to 47%. SoftBank tried to back out of its bailout, but a lawsuit forced them to pay. The company survived, but barely. Today, WeWork is worth less than $1 billion. Remember that decision we mentioned at the start? In 2012, Neumann structured WeWork as a C-Corp, but with a twist. He gave himself 10 times the voting power of other shareholders. That meant he controlled the company, even as it raised billions. It was the key to everything. Without it, WeWork might have been reined in. With it, Neumann had absolute power, and absolute disaster followed. WeWork's collapse changed Silicon Valley forever. Investors stopped chasing growth at all costs. SoftBank's Vision Fund, which poured billions into WeWork, lost $18.5 billion in 2020. Neumann. He started a new venture fund, Flow, and raised $350 million from Andreessen Horowitz. The lesson? In the world of startups, hype dies hard. Today, WeWork is a shell of its former self. It has 777 locations, down from 850 in 2019. Its stock trades at less than $1. But its legacy lives on. Every startup now faces the same question: are you a real business or just a story? WeWork chose the story. And the story collapsed. By the numbers, $47 billion valuation lost in 47 days. $18.5 billion lost by SoftBank. $1.7 billion exit package for Adam Neumann. $1.9 billion in losses in just 6 months. 850 locations in 2019, 777 today. 10x voting power for Neumann. $5.9 million for the weak trademark. And one question: how did no one see this coming? The surprising truth? WeWork wasn't a fraud. It was a real business, just a terrible one. The problem wasn't the idea. It was the execution. Neumann sold a vision of community, but he built a house of cards. And when the wind blew, it collapsed. The lesson? In business, hype is a drug. And like all drugs, it eventually wears off. If you want to understand how this pattern repeats across every major business collapse, the next video covers a story with disturbing parallels. A company that raised $10 billion, burned through it all, and left investors with nothing. That one is next. That's the story for today on MogulCast. If you found this valuable, subscribe and hit the bell. A new empire story drops every single weekday. See you tomorrow.